Well, hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome in to GarageBand Weekly for another week. Yeah, this is our chance to just chill, kick back, relax, and talk about all things GarageBand, creating, Apple, mobile, you name it, we're going to chat about. And this week I'm hatless. I repeat, hatless. We are going to do the strings, and I've got some feedback this week that I wanted to cover right up here at the front, which is that this show is quite long and I don't get to the point of the actual feature topic till about 20 minutes into the show usually. So I'm going to guarantee you that I'll put a timestamp down in the description and down in the comments below. So if you're watching this and you're like, this is called strings and he's not doing any of the strings, then yeah, just jump into the description and there'll be a little timestamp. You can jump straight there, because what we do at the start of this show is we have a bit of a chat. We talk to the folks who are kind enough to be here live. We answer any questions that may have popped up, and then we do some news and notes, because there's not a lot but a little bit going on in the world of GarageBand. So we're going to dive in and talk about that. He's always orchestrating something. Yes, let's get those string puns ready to go if you don't mind. Hello to you, Hugh Caldwell. G'day, Eric B. Hello to Thomas Christ. Hello to Mark Bro. I see Al Davis Music. I'm just stringing you along today. Violin. Sorry, I got nothing. Yes, won't the violence end soon? Can there be an end? Anyway, cello, and welcome to GarageBand Weekly. We're going to be going through the basics of the strings a little bit later. Let me be your conductor on this week's live show. And as Thomas says here, donations are never expected, but always welcome. If enough people donate, I will stop with the really lame puns. So there we go. Bradley McKnight, g'day to you, my friend. Hope you are doing well. So news and notes in the world of Apple. What have we got? Well, we got new iOS versions. If you've been checking your updates, we've got iOS and iPadOS 18.2.1. As per usual, with these .1 and .2 updates, like the dot ones, we don't know what it is. It says important bug fixes, but that could be anything. That could be anything from a 0-day exploit that could be destroying the world, or it could be like one person in Guatemala was affected by one thing and they fixed it up. So is it urgent? We don't really know. But if you're on 18.2 already, I've gone to 18.2.1. It's fine. There is, though, and I mentioned it in the news and notes section there, there's a lot of 17.7.2 hangers on. And it's funny because if you go into the discourse about this stuff, there's a lot of chatter from folks that are like, I'm never going to 18. I'm staying away from 18 because there's been problems with battery life. There's been problems with constant reboots. There's been overheating issues. And again, whenever there's an update, a chunk of people are going to have a problem with it, which is why, say it with me, folks, yeah, if you're in the middle of a major project, don't update your iOS, because you never know what's going to happen. Just sit pretty. Here's the thing, 17.7.2 is still 100% stable and reliable and secure, because it has to be. So this is the good news now. So if for those that are worried that you always have to be updating to the latest and greatest for security purposes, you don't, because they have to keep updating them, because a lot of the older hardware, my iPad Air 2, my first gen iPad Pro, they can't update past 17. So they have to keep it secure. So yeah, don't stress yourself out too much. G'day to Scott64, Scott Kids 64. 18's been fine for me, better than some previous versions, I'd say. Yeah, and that's the thing. For the 10% of people that have had some problems and the 1% of people that have had catastrophic problems, there's probably been 80% of people that have actually had an improvement, and 10% of people that just go, meh, whatever. We'll get a lullaby on a harp, maybe. Thank you to Eric B for the kind donation, £4.99 for me to shut up. I like it. Thank you. Thanks, Eric. If you don't know Eric B, amazing guitarist. We played one of his tracks on Your Music Live yesterday, and it was really, really super cool. Everyone dug it. It's been a while. Whenever you say it's been a while, you have to do it like that Stained song. It's been a while. Is that by Stained, the name of the band? Anyway, iOS 18.3 Beta 2 is out now, and some folks have been testing it. Not a whole heap to report on there. There's been a few tweaks to some of those Apple Intelligence features as well. but nothing to write home about or get yourself all excited about. It's just a small incremental update. And again, if you're on the beta or the beta path, good luck to you. But my warning would be don't do it on your daily driver. Don't do it on your one device that you need to use to get work done or even to get fun done. You don't want to spoil your fun. You need to be able to get your fun done, folks. Get your fun on. Hello to Jade Star. Thank you for dropping on by. Jade was showing something with cool knobs on her show today. I know many of you are aware of Jade, but if you're not, if you're wondering, hey, didn't you used to cover like apps and plugins, Johns, here on Studio Live today? Well, I don't bother anymore because Jade does it all. How to app on iOS. Go check it out. There's not a whole lot of information on this because, as usual, when anything goes before the courts and things, the amount of information we have available is quite low. But apparently, some folks have been suing Apple. I know, how dare they? Around Siri listening in, and I don't know where you stand on this. Let me know your thoughts. If you're here live or if you're watching on the replay, do you think your devices are spying on you? Do you think that they're listening to you? Do you think that the microphone that's always on this thing that's waiting for you to say, hey, buggerlugs, is actually listening to you all the time and is using that data against you? Now, here's the thing, I don't get into the tinfoil hat stuff too often. Are there loopholes, like when you read through all the terms and conditions and terms of service, which I know all of us do, for all of these different apps and all these different services, are there little loopholes in there that say that whilst they won't sell your data to Russian gangsters, they can use it to provide first-party services? Yeah, a little bit. So would I be super surprised if the fact that when you're logged into Facebook on something and you're searching, say, in your Safari for a new, I don't know, oven, like I was recently, and then suddenly your Facebook ads are full of oven ads? Yeah, that's absolutely happening because it's utilizing that. It's you're logged in and Facebook is the first party serving up ads based on your activity with Facebook. And remember, your activity with Facebook is not just within the Facebook app. This is why Meta, some people think, are a little on the shifter side. Because I'm being fair. If I'm going to say Apple might be doing stuff, I'm going to say, hey, Meta are doing it too. X are probably doing it, almost definitely doing it. Everyone's doing it. Microsoft, yeah. So anyone that can listen to you can get your data. Now, the problem comes in is when they then sell that off to third parties, especially to data brokers, because then everyone has your data. And that's what some of these unscrupulous companies have been doing. Do I think Apple's doing that? No. Apple have come out and said, we're very big on privacy. You'd know that with your iPhone and your iPad, the little orange dot that comes on in the corner tells you when your microphone is on and recording. Again, does that mean that Buggerlugs isn't listening all the time? No, they are, because that's how it works. That's how you can trigger it. It's listening for that catchphrase. But Apple have said, no, it's not doing anything else. It's not getting your secret, most intimate details and sending it off to Russian gangsters. So you can rest easy. No Russian gangster problems in your future. Yeah, that's the thing. You got to think. You got to think about the amount of bandwidth. You got to think logically with this stuff. Whenever I hear conspiracy theories, and this isn't a show about anti-conspiracy theories or whatever, you do you, boo. But whenever I hear conspiracy theories, I kind of get a bit weirded out because I'm like, you realize that worse stuff is just happening in plain sight, right? Like all of this next level, it's like, oh, we're playing 4D chess here now, people. No. All of the different terms of service you're accepting are sending data to companies, and a lot of those companies are then selling that data to data brokers. I ran a test recently, which was, I didn't really run a test, but what I do, so here's a tip for you. If you're signing up to a new service and you want to see if they're selling your data, especially your email address, really easy with your email address, you may be aware. So my email address is studiolivetoday@gmail.com. But if I sign up to a new service, say there's a new service called Bandalot, I don't know, it's like it's a Monty Python themed band site. It's like Camelot, but anyway. So Bandalot, I'd sign up as studiolivetoday.com, Studio Live Today plus Bandalot at gmail.com. So as soon as you put that plus symbol in there, it just uses that email address. So anything, so you could be Studio Live Today plus spam, Studio Live Today plus name of person. So when you're signing up for a service and you think it might be on the little bit of the dodgy side and you want to check it, do that. So I got an email from a government representative, like an actual member of parliament, spamming me about how good they are the other day. And I checked the email address and it says, uh, my personal email address, which is the Gmail one, plus velocity@gmail.com. And I'm like, huh, isn't that interesting? So the Virgin Company, who are an airline here in Australia, so Virgin, as in the Richard Branson Virgin, but there's Virgin are one of our three major domestic airlines. Yeah, they have a program called Velocity, their rewards program. And guess what? Guess who must have sold all of the email addresses for the people that are part of their frequent flyer program to the government, which is weird. You think about it, right? You're like, oh, it's going to go to like private companies. They're going to be the problem. This was the freaking government, man. They're spying on us. Yeah, but again, they're not spying on us with secret hidden cameras in our houses, or they're not tracking our phone calls when we're just calling up our Smoochie Pie and going, hey, Smoochie Pie. No, they're just tracking us by using companies that we're providing the data, we're clicking the box, and they're getting our data from a data broker. So, yeah, before you start worrying about all the hidden stuff in the shadows, maybe just have a think about what you're actually doing out in the open and how open that actually is. So, how do you keep yourself secure? Two-factor authentication. Make sure that you have security on your email and all your devices. Use pass keys and codes wherever you can. So if you can use your face or your fingerprint, something physical, use that. And check out authenticator apps. So authenticator apps are like the text you get to your phone. You know how you get those messages, two-factor authentication, 2FA. You can actually install an authenticator app. Google make one, which works really well. And then you just load that on your phone. And then when you're logging in on another device, you pick up your phone, your physical device, you go to the Authenticator app that only you can be logged into, and you put in a 6-digit code. Is it foolproof? No, but it helps you out. Yes, you can. You can indeed backtrace it. So yeah, there you go. For any of you that you're signing up to new things and you don't quite trust them, then yeah, just put that plus after it. Some of them have gotten savvy to it and go, oh, not a valid email address. But the vast majority still allow you to put that blah plus blah at gmail.com. And then when you get it, you know what it is. Yeah, exactly. They're just bandying it back and forth. And I know there's things like incogni and delete me and all these things that you can do, but I don't know. I kind of figure I hide in plain sight now. I just protect myself as best I can. I know that there's plenty of people out there that know my phone number, my email address, and probably my date of birth and mother's maiden name and all that stuff. So you just got to keep trying to stay one move ahead. Hello, Jeremy. We had Jeremy on Your Music Live yesterday. I am still at it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm hanging out here to continue. I'm going to say to continue bugging you, but to continue talking about fun things. Let's have a quick coffee break. All right. Other little quick tidbits of information. Apple Wallet will be supporting PayPal. And if you heard my rant about Honey recently, you know that PayPal, not exactly my favorite and my best at the moment in terms of companies and their behavior. If anyone's got any tips for me, and I know Venmo not available here in Australia, but if anyone has any tips for me for accepting and making payments that aren't PayPal, I'm all ears at this point. I would love to find a different vendor that I can use to accept payments and to make payments, but PayPal, for all of their foibles, are unfortunately the most widely accepted and the most ubiquitous that you can actually use at this point in time. So, yeah, as much as I feel a bit bad using a bit like Amazon, I know, like I buy stuff from Amazon and I recommend Amazon. And all my links here in GarageBand are to Amazon. On all my shows in my gear guide are to Amazon because it just works. And I know that there's some people that don't feel great about Amazon, but yeah. Thing about Venmo, it's PayPal or somehow affiliated. Yeah, that's what I'm finding, that everything leads back to the mothership, which is PayPal, because they kind of just own everything. Protecting privacy. We used to have access to something with all the names, addresses, and phone number of everyone. It's called a phone. I know. And it's weird. Like, I remember we used to have the phone book, and the phone book was okay because you needed to know someone's name, at least their surname and their initial, and then you could go in there and you could find not only their name but their phone number and sometimes even their address, which was a bit weird and creepy. But when the first CD-ROM phone books came out, do you remember that? And we got these CDs, and it had reverse search, and then the internet, there was like reverselookup.com or something, where you could put someone's phone number in, and it would reverse it, and it would get their name and address from that, which was a little on the creepy side. a little bit creepy. I remember being at work one day, early internet days, and someone was online, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I just had this customer on the phone. They sounded really hot." So I looked up the phone number, and this is their name and their address, and I'm like, "You can't do that." I was only a lowly sort of starting out person, but I'm just like, "Holy dooly, this is scarifying." Yeah, so don't do that. Don't stalk people. I know you shouldn't have to say it out loud, should you? But please don't stalk people. Don't dox people. Don't stalk people. Don't do bad things. PayPal acquired Venmo back in 2013, according to Google. Well, there you go. So Venmo, just an extension of PayPal. So no point me going through VPNs or trying to do anything weird and dodgy to get Venmo because it's just PayPal. The thing is, it's international is the problem. So here in Australia, if you got someone's phone number, you can send them money. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but at our it's instantaneous. So bank to bank transfer now in 2025, and has been for about the last 3 years, is all instantaneous. So you don't need a third party. You basically just get someone. You can go BSB an account number, but you can also go. There's like a pay ID, like a little code that you can get. You can get someone's pay ID and send it straight to them that way. And you can even just get someone's phone number. And if you send it to their phone number, it goes straight to them. So I think that the complexity comes in that every country, every region wants to have their own special little way because we know best and everyone else is wrong. All right. I wanted to give a quick tip here because I was doing some troubleshooting on my daughter's phone in the last week, and I'm always forgetting that the first thing you should do, like I always turn it off and on, but the better thing to do to completely flush out the memory and everything in your phone or your iPad is to do a hard reset. Now, it's slightly different on different devices, but for most, it's volume up, volume down, hold down the side button until it plunk, it flashes up. It'll completely reboot. And it's different from turning off and back on. It'll actually just get rid of absolutely everything and do a hard reset of your device. It didn't work for my daughter. Her phone just kept rebooting. And it was weird. I went onto the Apple website to be like, how do I fix this, Apple? I'd like to get my daughter's phone working again. And they're like, if it's rebooting all the time, you should update to the latest iOS version. I'm like, try to do that. But guess what? It reboots every 3 minutes. And your iOS updates are so huge that it gets about that far into the download bar and then reboots and then starts again. So there's no way to update the operating system on a phone that is constantly rebooting. So I tried everything with that and we couldn't get there in the end. Her phone it's an iPhone 11. It was getting pretty long in the tooth. She dropped it many times, so it was quite shattered in both senses of the word. And so she ended up having to spend her hard-earned money at her fast food job that she's been making and buy herself a new phone. So she's happily with a new phone now. Hello, Rena, and hello to Sean Chandler of the Chandler Brothers fame. I hope you are doing well, folks. CES came, went, meh. Like, it is a big meh. And I was listening to This Week in Tech this week. If you don't know This Week in Tech, Leo Laporte, it's like a weekly tech show, funnily enough, This Week in Tech. They were talking about CES and why it's so weird these days, why there's nothing cool and nothing new and nothing like exciting with CES. And it's basically because ever since Apple went to this constant release cycle, where they just, when something's ready, it comes out. They're not holding anything. So it used to be that at the end of the year, there'd be this 3 months of silence. And then January, New Year, CES, all the new fancy shiny things would be announced. So new Apple Macs, new Microsoft stuff, new Intel stuff. All of those companies now are just doing their own thing. Google, Android, Meta, they're all just putting out updates constantly, this constant flow of stuff, which is good. It means that I've got something to talk about 52 weeks of the year, but it also means that January, yeah, it used to be exciting. Now, not so much. So the interesting things that I got out of it, Sony are releasing an electric car that's like, yeah, I want an electric car with a PlayStation in it, and I want to pay twice as much for a crappy quality electric guitar. Fair enough. And Samsung have just lost their ever-loving mind. They have gone AI crazy. Apologies if anyone's a big Samsung fan. I've used Samsung stuff. I've had Samsung TVs in the past. But they've gone AI crazy, bro. They've just put AI in everything. Ovens, fridges, washing machines. And there's a really funny thing. Consumer Reports. Someone did the worst of the show, and I'll try and find the link to put it in the notes afterwards. But if you search CES worst of show, And they were talking about the worst thing. And there's one little segment there where the lady's like, have you ever wondered why your oven and your washing machine can't take phone calls? And it's like, nope. So yeah, they're putting like the ability to, you're in the laundry doing your washing and you're like, oh no, I don't have my small portable device with me, or, an earphone the size of that to take and make and receive phone calls. If only in the loudest, smelliest room in the house, in my laundry, if only I had the ability to chat to someone in here in really bad quality audio while my washer and dryer are going at full speed. Yeah, didn't think that through, did you, Samsung? Yes, yeah, good point. Did update because she's my daughter. She did update to iCloud, but yes, Dad checks all devices and makes sure that iCloud backups are on for everyone's device. Do I pay extra to make sure I have enough storage so that everyone's backed up to iCloud? Yes. So it meant there was no harm, no foul. Her phone had backed up the day before it started doing this thing, so she was able to restore everything that was on her phone as well. Yeah, it's appliances are on the Internet of Things. I know, and I look at my router and I think to it, poor router. Like it has to run so many different devices, and there's so many things connected to it. Like I look in this room and I'm like, that light switch, yep, that's connected. Like there's like 3 different Google Home devices within like earshot of here that are all connected. My 3 iPads that are here, my 2 iPhones are all connected. The doorbell is connected. It's almost the point now that when the internet goes down, it's almost as bad as when the power goes out. To the point where when we've got no internet, we've got power. The children are like, why can't I use things? Like, because the internet's down. And they're like, I don't even know what that means. And I'm like, I know you don't. I know you don't, honey. But back in my day, we had to dial up to the internet. We did. We had to put a phone number in and it would go beep, boop, 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 boop. And then we'd be connected. And yes, if you would like to sample that for your next song, you're welcome to. Hang on, my toilet is ringing. My toaster is ringing. Oh, Freudian slip. I said toilet instead of toaster. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, there's got to be one. One of those fancy Japanese toilets. There you go. Rita's already ahead of us. Yeah, when I talked about the loudest and smelliest room in the house, I was probably wrong thinking it was the laundry. Yeah, no, that'd be terrifying, especially if you're in American toilets when you have the bowls full of water that just sound like a jet engine taking off when you flush them. Anyway, where did we get here? Why are we here? Out walking the dogs. Hello to you. Explore the option of Wi-Fi 7. You may not get full speed, but more possible connection without signal drop. Yes, so all of my stuff isn't even Wi-Fi 6 at the moment, Mark. So I'm on a Google Mesh system from about 6 years ago. I'm well and truly ready for an upgrade. But the problem is, because I'm on a Google Mesh system, I have 4 different Google Mesh access points within my house. So replacing isn't just replacing one router, it's replacing a router and 3 additional access points to upgrade to a Wi-Fi 7 one. So need to do it, but yeah, not yet. I was eating eggs and bacon after my toasted sandwich. Wow, that's a feast in Bonfire's house. Nice. Yeah, I do like a good toasty, as we call them here in Australia, a toasty. And depending where you are, sometimes they're a toasty. Don't ask. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that NAMM is coming up, the National Association of Music Manufacturers, I believe it's called, something like that. So they do 2 shows a year, and it's where all the gear people, all the gear heads and all the gear manufacturers get together and talk about music gear, and it's cool. So I just tune in. I watch other people's content because I'm not going to California right now. By the way, I meant to say right at the start of the show, shout out to folks in LA that may have been displaced or may have been affected or maybe having to wear masks and purify their air because there's noxious smoke. Because this is the problem. Like I know that fires, you might think, oh no, I'm safe because my house wasn't burnt down. But the problem is the environmental impact of a fire is significant. Because it's not just the fact that fires and these things are caused by our changing climate, but then they impact and affect the climate as well. So yeah, when there were fires here, the air quality it drops significantly. So it can create problems for people with asthma, for people with other breathing and respiration problems. So yeah, be careful and shout out to folks that are either affected directly or indirectly by the unfortunate situation which is not unavoidable. Absolutely not unavoidable. I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, geez, we don't do enough, do we? We're very good at reacting. We're very ungood at being proactive. So we go with thoughts and prayers and fixing instead of trying to stop things. And look, the same thing happens with our technology. Backing up. Backing up is like the tech equivalent, if you want to go with that. That how often do we just go, and then something goes wrong with our device and we lose all of our stuff and we're like, oh no, what happened? It's like, you know what? A little tiny simple bit of maintenance that might have taken you 10 minutes to set up an auto backup could have saved you all that heartache. And yeah, and here in Australia, where we have lots of bushfires, unfortunately, there are folks who don't clear around their house, that don't have a clear evacuation plan. And unfortunately, they're the folks who are most impacted by when there is a fire. And other people that clear right around their house and make sure that everything's like as best they can. And again, it's not about controlling, but it's mitigation. Anyone that's done risk management, I know I'm getting into the real important stuff, but risk management isn't always about controlling. In fact, most risks can't be controlled, but the vast majority of risks can be mitigated. So yeah, there you go. We're drawing a connection there. We are at the halfway mark of this very show. I'm going to do something that I always forget to do, that I stole from Jade Star, and that is that if you are not a YouTube Premium subscriber, you're going to see an advertisement pop into your feed right now. So the ad is running at the moment, and after the ad, we are going to be diving in, and we're going to be playing with some strings. I'm just going to give us a quick refresher on the strings here in GarageBand because I know. Look, the thing is that a lot of the love goes to Logic Pro now because you got the session players and you got all these fancy chord tracks and stuff. But there's nothing quite like the ability to actually jump in here to GarageBand and actually just turn it up, but just be able to use things like your autoplay or just like swipe up and down. So just having that touch and the ability to go, I just want a cello, so I'm just going to turn these off and just grab my cello here and play, and then you can just be like, and you get really, really nice sounds there, and you've got different presets. So we are going to go through and no, we'll cover that in a moment. We don't need to save a preset right now. So let's talk strings here in GarageBand. I'm going to open a brand new, fresh project. By the way, if while we do this you have any questions, throw those in the chat. I will return and answer any questions that you may have as we go along. So let's start with some strings. So when you're here in GarageBand, all you need to do to go to your strings is come to the strings section here. And you'll notice down the bottom here, you've got smart strings, you got notes, you got scales, and you got more sounds where you can select which of the types of strings you would like. So the basic default is to tap right here on strings, and you're opened up to this sort of interface. And you'll see here that we've got the chords view. So these are your 8 chords that you can use. Now there's the ability to play pizzicato by just tapping in the 4 quadrants on, say, the C chord there, and you get some nice pizzicato strings. You can get some legato strings by actually tapping and sliding up and down. And yes, Bonfire, it even has G strings. So we can make fun jokes about our G strings. So, and yes, if you tap on it, it goes like that. So that's your basics of your strings. So let's Let's start by playing in some full strings, and let's go to a different key here. So to change up the chords that we have, we can do that by coming here to the settings app, or settings icon, and we can change this key signature. And what will happen is if you have follow song key on here, all of these chords will change to whatever key we're in. So my favorite key is G major. So we're going to go to G, so we can have some G, C, D, A minor, E minor kind of action here. So we come back to our settings here, and we can change our tempo here too. So let's go a slightly slower tempo. Let's go, let's go down to like an 86 tempo. There we go. And we're all set and ready to go. We'll extend this section by tapping on the plus button here. It's 8 bars automatic at the moment. Let's just tap this up to 16 bars just to give us something to play with here. And let's hit record and record in some strings. Now, that was really difficult and clunky to do because I was holding, using the button here. It is so much easier when you're using your finger. I just wanted to show you the way you actually do that. So there is our strings in there. Not played particularly well, but the good news is that because they're MIDI, we can do things like quantizing, and because these are very basic sounds, it's going to make it super simple to quantize these. So if we come up to our settings here and track settings under quantization, if we go straight quantization to the quarter note, see, I was so late on that even the quarter note quantization is not going to bring those in. It will for the others. So let's go eighth note, and then we'll just have to manually edit this first chord because it came in so late because I didn't actually press it down at the right timing. So if we zoom in and compress that down, we just need to grab these. And then I came in early on the other one. So ordinarily you wouldn't have to do this much editing, but we're just going to move these around, drag over there, and just put them here at the start so that they're coming in right on the start. All right, that's looking good. So we've got some basic string pads here. So you might be hearing that the type of sounds we have here have quite a slow attack and release because they're these cinematic strings. Now we can alter that by tapping here on this button and changing up the type of strings that we're using. So we've also got the modern strings, which sound a little different and have different attack and release. Well, that was weird. I think I've messed up that first chord. It really doesn't sound good, does it? Oh, because it's got that little bit there, that's why. It restarts itself. I didn't realize I'd done that. Let's just edit that and move this one down to the bottom here. I didn't realize we had this bottom note that we hadn't covered. We hadn't covered our bass. You got to cover all your basses. There we go. That's going to be better. It's still doing a weird restart, isn't it? Why don't we play that in again? We'll just get rid of that and play it in again here on the G. All right, let's see if that's going to work a bit better for us here. It's still got a really weird little start there, doesn't it? G. It's not a good advertisement for you, GarageBand. You're supposed to sound better than this. We'll just move these out and back in because sometimes you just need to adjust these. Let's try that. No. There you go. Yeah, don't use strings. All right, thanks everyone. I'll see you next time. No, that's a real pain, isn't it? So it's probably because I'm right up against there. In fact, let's just move all these down a bar because sometimes if you're coming in right at the start there, you can have problems with that. Nope, still got the problem. What if we extend it out there? Nope. The best laid plans, eh? Let's fix this because this will happen. Sometimes this happens to you and you need to be able to rectify it. So what I would actually do in this case is just come in here and delete and re-add these. So if we tap and delete, and it's a good time to show you that you'll notice here that there's different instruments depending where you are here. So down here is your double bass. Here's your cello. Up here is your viola. And up the top is your violin. So to add in a note here, we turn on our note adding ability. And then we can just stretch it out like that. And I can't read these because I'm too far from my thing. So let's just come back and make sure that it's going to actually play this note. It's still doing that flicker. Is this a known bug? Has anyone come across this before? When it goes into the next one, though, no, it does it every time. But only the first one. Isn't that weird? I'm not going to get stuck on this. We'll troubleshoot that after. There it goes. There it goes. Virgin Australia is owned by Richard Branson. Is it still? I know he definitely had involvement at the start. I'm not sure if he still owns it. We were talking about that earlier. So this is weird, but we'll continue on. So to change your string types, we showed you that there. You can change them by changing to modern, and you've also got pop and romantic. Here's your pop strings. They sound like this. Not record, play. And then you've got your romantic strings that sound like this. Next one. So what we'll do is, Rena says likes the auto patterns on strings, and that should be fine if we use an auto pattern. So let's show you how we can use some autoplay here. So we'll go back to our strings here. Instead of being in these notes, we can actually turn on autoplay. And again, a little tip for young players here is you can tap with one finger and get a particular sound. You can tap with two fingers and you'll get a slight variation. Slight variation. Sounds quite cool. Or with three fingers. That actually sounds quite good. All right, we're going to go with the three-finger variant here. So we're going to start on bar 3, hit record. We're going to move to C and back to G. Well, that's a nice little chord progression, isn't it? So that's going to sound better. Now, the real question is, will it do that weird glitchy thing at the start now that we're using the autoplay? Let's find out. No, it's better. That's cool. Hello, Crow on a Wire. Hello, Mix Club. Now I'm feeling all relaxed, aren't you? Old rich people music, you reckon? Maybe. All right, so we've got a heap more options here. Let's start layering up some string sounds here. Let's hit the plus button and let's try some different ones. So you'll notice we've got smart strings. We can go into notes mode. Now this is where the rubber hits the road. And I think UC Baba was talking about microtonal stuff before. But yeah, so this is where you can start doing those microtonal things. But what you'll notice is when you play a whole note, so when you tap directly on a note, it'll always give you the closest semitone. So unfortunately, it doesn't work great if you want to do any stepped microtonal stuff, but if you want to slide, you can do it that way. Not perfect. Again, it's trying to protect you because very, very few people, probably 99% of people that are playing, will want to hit it right on the note if they're playing a single note. So not ideal, but the best probably for the majority of people. The other thing we can do is play pizzicato. So if we tap and hold up on the top here, up on the, what do you call this? The nut. Is it still the nut if it's a string instrument? So we tap and hold on here. We can start playing some little pizzicato parts there. And you'll notice here that you can only select one instrument when you're doing this because vibrato, yeah. So you can get a bit of a vibrato effect on here with a little pitch waver, little finger waggle. So better if we do it on like a violin at the top here. Up. Oh. And again, easier to do with your finger than it is with like a mouse cursor here. So yeah, it's not perfect vibrato, so that you'd get on like a full orchestral plugin, but it does a decent kind of job. So you'll notice here that just holding down gives you the ability to play a note. So you don't actually have to stroke up and down. Ding. You can if it makes you feel better, but then you tend to move around a bit. But there's that murder sound. All right, so let's play along with this and see if we can add like a little pizzicato part. All right, let me just try that again while recording in. All right, so I've played a little pizzicato bit just so that we can show you that when we edit this, how this will actually look. So you can see the pizzicato there because it's just a little blip there on our notes. So we've got the little pizzicato blips. And if you wanted to change this, you can't. So once it's pizzicato, right? You do have down the bottom here. Oh, no, can't access that from here. I thought it had a little modifier down there. Haven't used these in a while. So once you played in a pizzicato note, it's going to be pizzicato. But of course, we can adjust those notes to make sure we play the right note. All right. So that's a way we can play in if you wanted to actually play in your notes that away. Let's add some more strings. This time we're going to go into the scales mode. So this is going to be a little easier if you are not so good at trying to work out where you're going to play. So this is actually a great way. So let's add in a viola part down here to this track. We'll hit record. Need to speed this up a bit, don't we? So all we were doing there is just touching on the notes and moving our finger up and down. So which worked well for this sort of thing. I'm just going to undo that just so I can show you a different way around this. Why can't I undo? Where's my undo button gone? There it is. So let's come back to that and we'll play it in again. But what if you wanted, instead of the major scale, what if you wanted to do, say, the major pentatonic? So you just wanted to be like, which is usually for like a more of a melodic part that's playing along. You sometimes would want to use a pentatonic. So let's try this now. I'm going to speed that up. It's a nice little piece, but it's too slow. So we'll bring this up to maybe like about 98. That's a bit better. And I'll use the cursor this time to show you. And you can create cool chords because if you're using the pentatonic combined with the original major, you get some of those ones that sound a little clashy, but can actually kind of, like this last little section here, I'm not convinced on, but it kind of sounds cool. It's So the resolves nicely back to the D at the end there. So that's another way you can play your strings. Let's come back in here and show you the other options we have under more sounds here. You can customize your sounds. Now, there's not much. I've got a Pete strings here, but I'll show you how we can customize the string sound. If we come in here, you can actually tweak your strings by coming here to your not settings. Where's your strings tweaking? Is it over here? I thought there was a spot. No. What is it just these? Is it just your effects that you can change here? I think it is. So if you wanted, say, a string sound that is just dripping with echo and reverb, or maybe had some plugins added to it, you've like EQ'd it so that you've got like a nice top end here and a reduction in your bass, and you wanted to save that one in, you can do all that, and then you can come here and hit save, and you can see how it's got the little dot next to it. Well, it did, a little dot next to it. So we've customized this. So we'll call this Pete Reverb, and then we get some nice big reverby strings. So you don't actually have the ability to adjust anything out here like you do with a lot of your other instruments, but you can actually change at least your plugins and your settings over here, and then save them in so you can have your own customized strings sound. Who did I see that's right? Hello, Ed Z. G'day to you. We're doing some string stuff. The Clemser scale is always fun, isn't it? Sorry, should have done that. You can become a channel member. You can do that. It does resolve well, doesn't it? Back to that D. Yeah, so you feel free to become a channel member, and you can tweak your G strings to your heart's desire as well. Now, there's a few other little tips here with strings. You might be thinking, I like the strings, Johns, but they're a little complicated to play, aren't they? Well, I'm glad you asked about that, because what we can do is hit the plus button here and come over to our keyboard. Yeah, so we can go to our keyboard, and if we tap more sounds and go down the bottom here to other, tap on other, check this out. We have strings. Now, these aren't super customizable because you've got pizzicato, staccato, and sustain. They're the only types that we have. So you don't have the full control over, say, violin versus cello versus bass and that sort of thing. Oh, you've got the upright bass here, which is just a plucked upright bass. But say we wanted to add some string sustain, we can put that there, and now so for someone like me that is much more comfortable on a keyboard, this can be a good way to add some string, especially if you're just adding a pad to like a regular song. You can do something like this. So let's just let's start with a B. Let's see if we can add some strings here with a B. That last chord is super wacky, isn't it? And Mark's already ahead of me here. The other thing that we can do here is we can play around with the sustain and the pitch bend wheel and adjust our velocity as well. So you might have noticed there that the velocity was a bit all over the place. Let's just undo that. If you're finding it's hard to get your velocity right here, what you can do is actually manually adjust it. So your velocity will either be like really loud, or if you pull it all the way down, really quiet. So it basically just decreases the range that your velocity can be within. And if you want it like right in the middle, so you've got like a really consistent sound, then you can do that as well. So let's just drop this. Basically, if we put that one there, open the little mouth. Yeah, let's put it there. Let's try something. Let's just try something a bit weird and wacky. and then I released it right at the end. So you can mess about with things like the pitch wheel and the velocity here to get a different sort of sound. You'll notice that it comes out over here as just one overall sound. So you can't edit that, so you better perform it right, yeah? Not quite right. I want that a little bit better. Let's fix that up. Let's play that in again because I reckon we can play something cool there. Yes, I was trying to take Mark's advice there and do some subtle movements on the pitch wheel. It takes some practice. Clearly, I have well and truly out of practice here with this. The other things that we could do, we could use things like the arpeggiator, which is super cool. So we'll just undo that. Let's do some fun arpeggiation here before we finish up. So run, and we'll do up and down. Let's do like a 16th note to create like a really weird arpeggiation and. All right, maybe we need an eighth note. The 16th note's a little bit wacky for something like this. In fact, a quarter note might work well for this. Let's just try this, shall we? What do we start on? We start on a D. All right. All right, so I was basically just holding down chords, and if we solo this, you'll hear what it did. It kind of creates a nice sort of different sort of pattern, something that you might not play in yourself. I definitely wouldn't have. Let's try it. Nice. So that's the final one. The other thing that you'd probably be aware of is that if you're looking for other strings, you got loops. So you can come in here to your loops, and we've still got filtered by guitar. But if we go string, you got all sorts of different guitar, some string sounds here in your loops that you can bring in to your project. So there's quite a few of those, and there's even what a lot of people use for the pads of their strings is the Hollywood strings. Now I never remember where these are. I think they're in Synth Classics, but someone's going to correct me. They're not there, and I could never find them. Synth pads, is that where they are? The Hollywood strings? There they are. So the synth pads, Hollywood strings. And if the other strings sounded like the Korg strings, these sound like Casio strings, in my opinion. These sound very much like the strings on my Casio keyboards of the past. So Hollywood strings can be fun to play around with there. So you got a bunch of different ways you can add strings here in GarageBand on your iPhone or your iPad. Don't overlook it. And again, for the cost of $0, zero Great British pounds, zero euro, yeah, you can't really go wrong with playing around with your GarageBand strings. Yeah, it's great for things like chromatic runs, and it's really fun to just add a string pad to an actual song. So I've done that a bunch of times with different songs that I've had. Is just adding either like a bass, like a double bass, a cello, sometimes violas or violins, just to go over the top of something. Like when you can't get someone like Dan Baker to play on your songs, and when I want a little bit of string sound, I just bring in the GarageBand strings. Sorry, your brain is starting to throb. Yeah, mine too. And we are coming towards the end of the show here, folks. So I want to thank you for joining me and for playing around with some strings here today. If you have any final questions, I will be happy to answer those in 4 minutes' time. But other than that, I'm going to have a cough and I'm going to let you know that we are back with our usual lineup of shows this weekend. We've got the podcast will be happening on Thursday evening, afternoon, or Friday morning, depending where you are in the world, and then our usual lineup of live shows over the weekend. We've got ourselves Your Music Live. We've got ourselves the Happy Hour. I'm going to be doing songs that are questions. Would I lie to you, baby? No, I wouldn't. Not about the happy hour. So we're going with some questioning songs. Can I find at least 10 songs that are questions? Maybe we might be stretching the friendship there and trying to find some interesting ways. Stay? I missed you? Maybe is that a question mark? You put a question mark at the end of that? I don't know. So start giving me your ideas for what that might be as well. And then we have, of course, GarageBand Weekly again next week. A new show on this channel, my new show. It is it's the community. It's your show as well. Is Let's Find Some. Haven't got a genre yet. So if there's a genre you're burning for me to check out over on Bandcamp, my brand new show, Let's Find Some Music. We've done punk, we've done metal. What do you reckon this week? Funk, folk, rock, bossa nova. Is there enough bossa nova music to cover it? Jazz? I don't know. Hip hop? I'm not a big hip hop head. So whatever genre we do, you'll find out about that as well. That's a little half-hour show that we do. Will I be uploading older Patreon videos to YouTube via the membership section? That's a really good question, Al Davis. The problem is, I'll have a look. I'll have a look at that because I know I've got the Patreon and we've got the membership at the moment. There aren't too many Patreon exclusive videos that I can think of, but what I'll do, it's actually a good point. I'll go back through my unlisted videos because a lot of them are just like Patreon monthly update type videos. And I'm not sure that they'll be super relevant, but if there's anything I've done that's a Patreon exclusive that's unlisted, what I should do is go and change that to members only. Good question, because I do need to start doing stuff. We did a little live stream for the members this week, and I'm overdue. I'm a month overdue for a live stream for Patreon, so I'll be scheduling that in a little while. There's the last one. Let's find some. So jazz or soul? Yeah, maybe I'll put it out. I'll include jazz and soul, and I'll put a little survey out on the YouTube because I don't do a show tomorrow. So I'll put a survey out and I'll let you folks vote on what the Let's Find My should be for this week. That could be fun. Industrial, klezmer, punk. It could get really new wave would be cool. Is there new wave? Is that? I'll have to check that these genres actually exist in Bandcamp first. There you go. Jazz, soul, and some sort of new wave will be it. That will we go with. All right, that is it. We are at the end of our time here together. So thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already hit the thumbs up button, would appreciate you doing that. Don't forget, down in the description is all the ways you can support me through the Patreon, through the donations, and also through things like the gear guide. If you're buying new gear for your GarageBand or your music creation rig, check out the gear guide because if you make a purchase from there, they will break off a small chunk and send it my way. Please, folks, this week, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time on GarageBand Weekly. Let's go out with a little bit of string sound, shall we? Bye for now. It's been so good spending some time with you here today on GarageBand Weekly. Bye for now.